Let's learn 5 new conjunctions. And most of these are really easy to use because they're used almost exactly like their English counterparts. So remember when we learned e, and that corresponded with and in English, almost as a one-to-one translation. Meanwhile, when we learned the word que as another connector, it was a bit harder to use because it's not used exactly the way that the word that is used in English. The 5 words that we'll learn in this video are not exactly one-to-one with English, but they're pretty close. So a good example is si, which means if. So you can join 2 sentences together using if. For example, I do it if my friend does it. That would be, I lo do si mi amiga lo does. So we're putting 2 sentences together with a conjunction between them. It's the same thing with pero, which means but. For example, your friends did it, but my friends didn't do it. Tus amigos lo did, pero mis amigos no lo did. Another pretty easy one is o, which means or. This word is a lot like e. You can use it between 2 clauses. For example, they're his things and they're my things. Son sus cosas y son mis cosas. Or, they're his things or they're my things. Son sus cosas o son mis cosas. But you can also use it between items in a list. For example, my things and your things are here. Mis cosas y tus cosas están aquí. So the word y here is being used just to list things, my things and your things. As you can tell, in this case, we don't actually have a full sentence before and after the conjunction as we did in previous examples. Let's replace and with or. My things or your things are here. Mis cosas o tus cosas están aquí. Let's go ahead and practice si for if, pero for but, and o for or. In this quiz, I'm going to keep the sentences that occur around the conjunctions pretty simple. They're my friends or they're your friends. ¿Son mis amigas o son tus amigas? I'm here, but my friend isn't. Estoy aquí, pero mi amiga no lo está. We're with my friends or your friends. ¿Estamos con mis amigos o tus amigos? She's his friend if we're friends. Es su amiga si somos amigos. We aren't her friends, but we're here. No somos sus amigos, pero estamos aquí. His friends are here, or they're not his friends. Sus amigos están aquí, o no son sus amigos. They're friends if you're here. Son amigas si estás aquí. Our next conjunction is the word for because. But to talk about this word, let's revisit the preposition por, which means by or because of. This word tends to talk about either the source of something or the idea of being near something. To say, I'm here because of food, you would say, estoy aquí por food. In English, we use the word because to indicate all kinds of reasons for something. For example, you might want to say, I'm here because he's here. In that case, we can't use por, because prepositions are always simply followed by some sort of noun. In this case, we're following it with an entire sentence, he's here. So what we need is a conjunction. Let's try using the favorite word of the Spanish language, the conjunction que. Remember that a que phrase is often used as a noun in a sentence. For example, instead of saying food is strange, where food is clearly the noun in the sentence, we can say that he is here is strange. The phrase that he is here would be a que phrase, and we're using the whole que phrase, the fact that he's here, as a noun. Let's do that in the sentence we were just looking at. I'm here because of food could be replaced with I'm here because of que my friend is here. Here's what we get. Estoy aquí porque mi amigo está aquí. So let's take a second to study this and break this down a little bit. The word por is there to indicate the reason for something, and we can follow it with either a noun, por food, or with a que phrase, porque mi amigo está aquí. But actually, proper Spanish doesn't exactly do this. Instead, the words por and que in these situations are always put together into one new word, our new conjunction, porque. So here's the sentence. Estoy aquí porque mi amigo está aquí. To oversimplify a bit, the word porque simply means because. This applies in many cases except when you say because of, in which case you'll simply use por. This little subtlety can confuse English speakers a lot. Essentially, here's what happens. Because of becomes por, but because without the of becomes porque. So basically, the longer English phrase turns into the short, simple Spanish word por. But the shorter English phrase, because by itself, turns into the longer Spanish word porque. One way or another, you now have the conjunction porque, which can be used between two phrases just like any other conjunction. Let's practice this. They're here if you're here. Están aquí si estás aquí. They're here because you're here. Están aquí porque estás aquí. My friend isn't here because your friend isn't. Mi amigo no está aquí porque tu amigo no lo está. We have one more conjunction to learn, and it's kind of a tricky one. The word cuando means when. Here's a simple example. We were friends when we were kids. Éramos amigos cuando éramos kids. Try it yourself in this next one. I was her friend when you were here. Era su amigo cuando estabas aquí. But there's something interesting that cuando does in a particular situation. Check out this sentence. We will do it when you are here. So even in English, there's a strange thing about this sentence. The question is, what time does when you are here refer to? Is it the future tense, the present tense, or what? We will do it when you are here. In the first clause, we're using the future. We will do it. But in the second clause, for some reason, we're saying you are here. If that's the future, we should say when you will be here. But we never say we will do it when you will be here. Basically, what's happening is that we're referring to when something happens, but when something happens in the future. And the rule in Spanish is that when you say when something happens, and it happens in the future, you actually use a subjunctive. Why is this? It's not indicating an intention or an emotion. But the fact is, there are some situations in Spanish that just flip a switch and trigger the subjunctive. You'll stumble over them once in a while as you learn more and more Spanish words, and the word cuando is just one of them. This is simply a new sentence template to learn. But it specifically happens only in this future situation. If you're using cuando in the past, for example, we were friends when we were kids, you don't use the subjunctive. You just use the normal past tense. You also won't use this when talking about the present if you're referring to things that are repeated. For example, I always give easy assignments when I am the teacher. This uses a normal conjugation after when. But specifically, if you're talking about the future, we will do something when this thing happens. The happens there is going to be subjunctive. For example, I will give out easy assignments when I am the teacher. I will give out easy assignments cuando sea the teacher. Now, as a side note, we haven't really talked about the future in these lessons yet. This is just something to watch for. For now, the only future thing you have to worry about is when using the future triggers a subjunctive, specifically when the word cuando is involved. So, how much can you translate in this sentence? My friends will do it when you are here. You should be able to translate everything except for will do. So here's the Spanish. Mis amigos lo will do cuando estés aquí. How about, you were happy when you were my friend? Estabas happy cuando eras mi amiga. I will do it when I'm here. I lo will do cuando esté aquí. We will be relieved when we aren't here. We will be relieved cuando no estemos aquí. We'll get a lot more practice with these conjunctions in today's quiz.